Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And I gotta tell you, Ashton, for me, this Raw was incredibly frustrating because it had some wonderful moments, some moments that made me facepalm, and good Lord, the commercials. Did this Raw ever drag? What did you think of it?
I honestly, dude, normally I feel this when I'm watching SmackDown, but it has been a while. I would probably go as far as to say probably since the Daniel Bryan is cheating on his wife with his physical fitness or therapist storyline, probably since then that I've felt this intellectually insulted by an episode of Raw.
Yeah, you were saying that throughout the broadcast.
And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it wasn't even 100% Raw's fault. A lot of it had to do with the commercials that we were getting. And the worst part is, and I was tempted to make this a heat of the night, but I think I'm just going to get it out of the way now. I feel like we saw that, like, it felt like Todd Chrisley got more TV time tonight than Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, so many Chrisley Knows Best promos. Ridiculous. But with that said, let's get right into it. Let's plunder our hands into this with our first segment, Heat of the Night. And it's been a while, folks, but I actually have a Heat of the Night tonight.
It has been a long time because it seems like I'm the one that always points stuff out, and then you're like, oh yeah, that was a thing. I'm going to sign on to that.
Yeah, so I actually feel good getting back in the saddle. And this is like an overarching Heat of the Night, because I wanted to make it two separate things, but I thought, no, we could just make it one big umbrella one. Okay, it starts with the Cena-Stephanie McMahon segment. And make no mistake, I think Stephanie did a wonderful job on her end, being the villain, to the point where, as Ashton acknowledged when we were watching this together, the crowd was entirely pro-Cena. There was no Cena sucks chance. That's an incredible feat, and Stephanie should be proud of herself. So that was great. And then Triple H would come out later after Cena, rebuffed her advances, saying, no, I do it for these people. Typical Cena shtick, right? Then Triple H comes out and he gives this wonderful promo with the theme about nobody has ever beaten the sands of time. You're getting older, John. Sooner or later it's going to wear on you. Physically, you're probably already there. Mentally, you're hanging on by a thread because of these people. And just saying, I've been doing it for 20 years, John. I know it better than anybody. And Cena, I think, has only been there like 12, 14, somewhere around there. And it's a great theme, right? Because you think Cena's even kind of acknowledged it himself. Like, he had to beat Lesnar because he wanted to convince himself he hasn't lost a step, or this, that, or the other. So, my first problem is that we know it's not going to amount to anything. We know Cena is going to be John Cena. We know he's not going to turn heel. We know he's not going to embrace any kind of character progression. That's the first and very obvious problem. My second problem came with the main event. And it's a shame, too, because I really enjoyed this main event. I like the psychology of Cena working over Rollins' injuries at points, and Rollins always being aware of his taped ribs. And it was just a great back-and-forth encounter. But Cena looked like he was closing in on the victory when he got in the STF and it was a DQ finish. Now, wouldn't it have really driven the point home about not being able to outrun the sands of time if the younger guy that has, the self-proclaimed future and has been labeled by so many others as the next standard bearer got the freaking win? Like, I'm just asking for Cena to confront his own mortality one time, and it seems like when he's standing at the precipice of it...
Well, no, John, because you need to understand the underlying message here that old 46-year-old Corporate Kane is the one that made the difference in this match.
Yeah, I don't know, Ashton. I felt like when he was about to beat Seth Rollins and then Kane does the run-in, it's like, well, then Cena doesn't even really need to learn that lesson on this night because he handled it. He had it handled. And I don't know, maybe it's an unnecessary Heat of the Night to get back in the game, but it just really frustrated me tonight, and I felt like I had to say something. So, Ashton, first of all, what do you think of my Heat of the Night? And then we can hear if you have any yourself. So,
as far as your Heat of the Night goes, that's actually one of the reasons why I felt like my intelligence was being insulted tonight, because they did this whole thing to try and build up this huge tease that, we're going to get Cena to turn to the dark side. Do you want to know who bought that it was possibly going to happen?
No one.
Somebody who was watching Raw for the first time ever.
Or that too.
That's it. That's all I can think of. That's the only person that I can think of who would have bought into the idea that, oh, well, maybe this John Cena guy isn't as nice as everyone lets on.
Right.
And then everyone around him, after he said that, laughed in his face.
And it was a boisterous laugh too. Like they let it out.
Yeah.
So what are your heats tonight, man? Because I really have nothing else to say about mine.
Well,
so.
it's a coincidence because my first, and I'm not going to go out there and say only because I'm not sure if I have a second one yet, but for now it's my first heat of the night. Also involves John Cena. But this is more along the lines of the booking of John Cena. This isn't anything personal with Cena himself, well, and I guess neither was yours, but could I ask you a question, John?
Sure.
Why is John Cena the number one contender for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship?
Because he beat Randy Orton.
Okay.
Okay.
How did he get into the match against Randy Orton?
By losing to Dean Ambrose.
And in the match that he lost to Dean Ambrose, what was on the line that Dean Ambrose won?
The chance to face Seth Rollins inside Hell in a Cell.
The chance to get his hands on Seth Rollins. And what did John Cena do tonight with no build-up, no storyline, no reason whatsoever?
He got a one-on-one match with Seth Rollins.
Despite the fact that he originally lost to Dean Ambrose and still got handed a number one contendership shot, he still proceeded to get a free one-on-one match with Seth Rollins on a Monday Night Raw the night after. And icing on the cake, it was an injured Seth Rollins thanks to Dean Ambrose.
So if I can extrapolate here what your heat of the night is from what you've put forward to me, it's John Cena's ability to just be handed things that maybe he originally wants, but maybe doesn't get at one point, but then gets it later with no effort whatsoever.
Exactly. It's the fact that Dean Ambrose had to work to get his hands on Rollins, and they gave this dude a 4-month build-up just to the point that he could finally get Rollins one-on-one in the ring with no escape. And then it happens, and the match is what it is, and then the match ends, and then the following night, the Authority says, oh, hey, John, because you beat Randy Orton, and now you're the number one contender for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, we're going to give you Seth Rollins too.
Yeah, and really, and I just thought of this, and I'm wondering what you think of it, Ash. And on the Authority's part, it seems a little backwards as well. Why would you feed your golden boy, who has an injury, the taped up ribs, to John Cena of all people?
Yep.
When they just give Seth Rollins a night off, be like, hey, you beat Dean Ambrose, you brought it home for the Authority. Nobody's getting their hands on you tonight, and yet they give him a match. It makes no sense.
Well, I wouldn't even say give. I would consider that to be punishment.
Yeah. That's what I would be thinking if I was Seth Rollins with heavily taped ribs. I'd be like, wait, you're putting me in a match against who? And why? And it just.
I'm not sure if you saw this, but when I got done in my match with Dean Ambrose last night, I was limping. I could barely walk. My ribs were screwed up. When John Cena got done with his match with Randy Orton, he popped up and exploded and acted like he was all excited and then practically ran to the back. I don't know if I can do this right now.
Yeah, so no matter what vantage point you look at it from, this match just kind of frustrates and makes no sense. Despite, again, that I thoroughly enjoyed it from an in-ring perspective, but when you look at everything surrounding it, it just kind of leaves you scratching your head.
Exactly. I do believe that is going to end up being my only heat of the night, but it to me, it's just kind of piling on top of the John Cena mythos, and it's really unnecessary.
Absolutely. Nothing more I can say than that, so let's move on to our next segment, the SmackDown recap. Not really much to say here because I personally didn't watch SmackDown. I don't know if you did or if you even feel like there's anything worth noting about this show because it was Hell in a Cell weekend, and I think that's where our priorities were. At least that's where mine were.
Didn't we make a rule where after a pay-per-view we were not going to talk about the SmackDown before because it's like two different eras almost?
Yeah, I think we did, and for good reason, because, Hell in a Cell, I think, was just such a great show that SmackDown, not even a blip on the radar. So I guess with that said, I'll remember that in the future. So with that said, we can just get right into our Monday Night Raw review, and we open up this Raw. I mean, how do you think we open this one up? With the Authority. Triple H,
I was really surprised by this. I don't know. I couldn't have called it from a mile away.
Yeah, me either, buddy. Me either. So, yeah, Triple H, Stephanie, the whole Authority comes out. Interesting note here, Triple H, he's kind of in a celebratory mood because he mentions how, Seth Rollins, he took care of business, he took care of Dean Ambrose, but he does pepper in there that, it's also kind of a shame because Randy Orton lost to John Cena. Despite the fact that it was a great Hell in a Cell match, Triple H acknowledges. But the main focus here is that, Seth Rollins came through. He's the conquering hero. And then Seth gets the mic and he says, despite the fact that Randy Orton was soundly defeated by John Cena, I did what I said I was going to do. I beat Dean Ambrose. I beat that lunatic that should be in a psychiatric hospital, in a straitjacket, and I proved to him that intellect will always overcome, I think he pretty much said savagery or just brutality that Dean Ambrose is known for. And he says, I've moved on from Dean Ambrose. It's over. And now my focus is John Cena. And he says, I'm the standard bearer of the future, pretty much saying that I will be a world champion. You then have Randy Orton come out, and this is where the segment just goes to the next level for me in terms of enjoyment, because Randy just looks like he's going to go off on somebody, Ashton.
Yeah. Randy, if last week was the promo of his life, this might have been the most entertaining promo he's ever cut.
Yeah. I mean, he comes out and he's like, why? Why have twice now people have been saying that John Cena defeated Randy Orton inside Hell in a Cell. Maybe if you didn't curb stomp me on Monday, I wouldn't have lost. Because I'll tell you, you've got quite a finish, kid. I'm still seeing stars. And I told the Authority that if they weren't going to take care of this, I was going to. And then comes the best part, because Triple H is trying to understand him. He's like, Randy, calm down. He's like, I'll calm down when he's dead.
Yeah.
He's just like,
it's like, boy, that escalated quickly.
It's just so good. And Triple H is just trying to restrain Orton, and Orton he knows he's going to blow a gasket. He even said, he feels like he needs to go back.
Dude, you know what's really hilarious here, too?
What's that?
And I didn't even notice it until now. Think about Randy Orton in 2009 and how he was pretty much universally viewed as the most boring thing going in the WWE. All of his matches, they called him Randy Borton, and all of his matches were just rest hold after rest hold after rest hold. And now, not only is he arguably the most technically sound in-ring performer in the WWE, but when he showed up, the energy level in the ring went up from like a 4 to a 9. Because when Seth Rollins now granted, Seth Rollins is exciting in the ring, but when Seth Rollins talks, he is so very slow and deliberate with his word choice. And it's pure heel work. But then Orton comes out and he is just firing off on all cylinders. Just it got to a point where I was worried he was going to pass out because of a lack of oxygen, because he was just talking so much without taking a breath. And it was awesome, man. This is the Orton that people fell in love with back in 2005, 6, somewhere around there. And it's he's back, but not only is he back, but now he's back and in a form where the real life Randy Orton has his crap together.
Yeah, absolutely. That was wonderfully said. And yeah, because Orton just did not stop. Again, I'll take it easy when he's dead. And he said, I'm going to have to go back to anger management therapy like I did. I think he said in 2006.
And that was for real.
Yeah. He brought some stuff to the forefront, which I thought was great. And then Triple H is trying to be the calm, mentor, the calm voice, just saying, Randy, we are not going to do this now. We are not going to do this now.
Can we also take a minute to establish that in that whole thing where Orton was just mowing Rollins down and telling him that he's going to kill him, he at the same time managed to get the blackout over as super freaking legit?
Yeah. Because he said,
you've got a great finish, kid. I'm still seeing stars. That was amazing. Just that one tiny little line. It's oh crap, Rollins, you don't want to get kicked. You don't want to get curb stomped. It's just so good.
I've been saying consistently that I feel like this year, in a way, has belonged to Randy Orton, and this promo just furthers that case, because, Triple H tries to calm him down. And how does Randy Orton respond? He seems like he's going to leave, but then he just pushes Triple H aside and he RKO's Rollins and he gets out.
Dude, the face that Triple H made as he watched Orton RKO Rollins was absolute gold. He looked like a parent who was literally watching his kid take his first bite of glue.
Yeah, exactly. Like, damn it, Randy.
I know it was inevitable, but I thought I could have stopped it. I feel like I should apologize, but it's not really my fault.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I am so ready for the feud between these two. I don't know what's going to happen given the implications for Survivor Series that we would find out later in the night, but I'm interested to see where this goes. It's in Randy Orton's hometown, and they're just going to give him one hell of a pop if he keeps up a role like this.
Dude, I hope that they do the whole thing where Orton is on Team Cena, and he ends up like he goes on one of his typical Randy Orton rampages in Survivor Series, and he ends up winning the whole match for Team Cena, and then he RKO's Cena just to say, screw you, buddy.
Yeah. I want Randy Orton to really be like that lone wolf, done with the authority, done with everybody.
And that's the thing, like they say Dean Ambrose is the loose cannon, but I think that his character is more crazy than angry. Like,
yeah.
He has anger in him, but Randy Orton pulls off the loose cannon. Like, Randy Orton is like, no matter he's like that one time when DX was back together and Shawn Michaels was just going around super kicking random people. That's Randy Orton. Like, he's in just one of these weeks, they're just going to show him randomly RKOing everybody that steps in front of him, and there's not going to be anything anyone can do about it to stop him.
Yeah, I think with the way that Raw closed, they missed a brilliant opportunity to do something just like that. Just Randy Orton going on a rampage.
It was almost a swerve by not having it happen.
Exactly.
Because everyone was expecting Orton to come out there at the end, especially because Rollins was up at the top of the ramp separate from everyone else. Everyone was thinking, oh God, Orton's going to come out and RKO Rollins and then go down and clean house. But it never happened, and it was almost like a swerve because of the fact that we were all expecting it and it just didn't happen.
So I guess just to close this out, I mean, Randy Orton did speak on the WWE app with Tom Phillips afterwards. He said, I told the authority that if they were going to take care of it, I was going to. So this is Orton's focus now. Like,
this is the slowest of burns. Like, the authority has been passive-aggressively screwing him over since this time last year. And now he's finally starting to realize just what they're all about. And
yeah, like, I'm telling you, man, he is wised up, and that should make Seth Rollins shit a brick, because I am legitimately worried for his safety right now.
No,
like, Randy Orton is going to destroy Seth Rollins, I'm telling you.
You would be worried for his safety if you didn't want him to be safe. Or, I mean, unsafe, I should say.
There you go.
It's kind of hard to be worried about his safety when I really genuinely want Randy to just punt his skull.
Yeah, I love this Randy Orton, man. I'm going to have so much fun with this. So that's my thoughts on that. If you have anything else you want to say, we can move on.